Hello class, welcome to numerical methods and analysis. In the previous lecture series, we covered the open methods to find the root, that's singular, of an equation. This time, let's find the roots, plural, of a polynomial. And for that, we'll be using the Mueller's method. Now, just to compare and contrast, recall that the secant method obtains a root estimate by projecting a straight line. Yeah, let's use this laser pointer. By projecting a straight line, okay, through two function values. Okay, so naida ka straight line on your curve, then pinagian na gipangita niya ang kini siya, ang root estimate bali, itong x-intercept. Okay. Now, Mueller's method takes a similar approach in the sense that it uses the points on the curve, but projects a parabola. So instead of a line, Mueller's method uses a parabola. In particular, a parabola that passes through 3 points. Mueller's method consists primarily of 2 steps. First is on deriving the coefficients of this parabola that goes through 3 points of your curve f of x. Then second is on determining the point where the parabola intersects the x-axis. That is the root estimate. Okay, so this one. So given a curve f of x, how can we determine the coefficients of the parabola that passes through the 3 points? This one, these 3 points, x sub o, fx sub o, x sub 1, fx sub 1, x sub 2, and fx sub 2, which corresponds to these points. Kini siya, kini, then kini. So how can we determine the coefficients of this parabola? Okay. Let's use this parabola. Okay, kini na form. So, unsa na to pag-determine si A, si B, o si C. Now, take note that we have 3 points or xy pairs, diba? So, if we substitute the values of x and y, si x, si y nimo, then to this equation sa imong parabola, then we can generate 3 equations with A, B, and C now being your unknowns. So, since we have 3 equations, para ano yun? I-try natin substitute si x sub o, si x sub 0 dire, x sub 1 gap, so dire na pod, then x sub 2 dire. So, as you can see, we now have 3 equations and we also have 3 unknowns, A, B, C. So, it means that it can now be solved. Note that from the third equation, this one, we can already solve for C. That is, x sub 2 minus x sub 2 man eh. Kini gihapon, mo gihapon. So, mabilin ani, C is equal to f at x sub 2. So, then we substitute ang kini dayon si C kay f x sub 2 man. So, ato nang kini substitute nato dere sa equation 1 ug 2. Then balhin nato. So, that's why we now have this one. Okay. Now, there are actually a number of ways to solve for the remaining coefficients A and B. Okay, but one way to do this is by defining these variables. Kini sila. Now, if you'll use this to solve kini, then after some algebraic manipulation, this will give you this one, this expression for A and for B. So, ang nagpasabot, masolve na dahil nato si A, si B, o si C nga coefficients imuhang parabola. Ganun sa ganito, kung masolve nato ang coefficients ng parabola, then mara sa first step, second step na dahil kay ipapangita na dahil nato asa ang x-intercept niya. Okay, so ganoon siya. Now, probably you might ask nga, sir, yun sa man na pag-solve. Okay. So, for those who wanted to know the derivation, then just follow through. Tapos, pause the video when needed. But to those who are already satisfied with that short explanation, then you can just skip the derivation part. So, giyon sa na siya pag-solve. Una, di ba naman tayo kini, duha ka equations na to. Then, so let's first manipulate In equation 1, using equations 3 to 6. So, minus equation 1, di ba si f at x sub o, gikan diri sa imuhang equation 5. So, that's equal to fx sub 1 minus delta 0 sub 0 h sub 0, di ba? Mura ning diri na sa equation 5. Then si f at x sub 2, mura gihapon gikan sa equation 6. Sa to pa, ang f at x sub 2 will be equal to delta sub 1 h sub 1 plus f at x sub 1. No? Then, kini na pod. Si x sub 2, ato, gikan na ni siya sa ato equation 4. That is, x sub 2 is equal to, di ba, h sub 1 plus x sub 1. So, ato na yung i-substitute diri. Magyapon diri. Okay. So, as you can see, kining si fx sub 1 o kini po na fx sub 1 mag-cancel. Diba? Sa to pa, nakinabilin nga negative o quantity delta sub 0, h sub 0 plus delta sub 1, h sub 1. Okay. Dito sa pikas. Kini si kini si x sub 0, di ba pag distribute ni mo ani negative h sub 1, negative x1. Kini si x sub 0 minus x sub 1, di ba mo ni siya say negative h sub 0, diba? So, mahimo na siyang negative h sub 0 minus h sub 1 plus b, then negative h sub 0 minus h sub 1. Okay? Then, gi-factor out ang dayon ang negative sign. So, mga nanadari. Then, kini po, gi-factor out po ng negative 1. So, yapon. Then, pero kayo naka-square man eh. So, negative 1 times negative 1. So, positive 1. So, manang positive yapon eh. Now, para mawala ni nga negative, i-multiply nato both sides with negative 1. So, manang natay positive na dayan na delta sub 0, h sub 0 plus delta sub 1, h sub 1 equal to, kini positive man siya dari. So, pag multiply nato negative, so may mga negative a o quantity h sub 0 plus h sub 1 squared plus b h sub 0 plus h sub 1. Okay, so this will be our 7th equation. Then, karon i-manipulate na pa nato si equation 2. Now, minus equation 2, magyapon fx sub 2, gikan na gyapon ani. So, delta sub 1 h sub 1 plus f at x sub 1 equal to, then si x sub 2 gyapon, that's equal sa, marang gyapon sa ganina, gikan na gyapon dito sa equation 4. So, x sub 2 minus h sub 1 minus x sub 2. Then, same gyapon diri So, as you can see, mas cancel na x sub 2 minus x sub 2. Magyapon diri. So, ito pa mabilin, negative h sub 1 squared, and diri po, negative h sub 1. Now, as you may have observed, ang common diri kay si negative h sub 1. So, cancel na to si negative h sub 1, mabilin, delta sub 1 equal to a times negative h sub 1 plus b. So, therefore, b is just equal to, ato lang i-transfer dito sa pikas. So, may mo na daw yung b is equal to a h sub 1 plus delta sub 1. So, kung naa na tayo expression sa ato ang b ani, then, ato lang din ang i-substitute, kini siya, substitute nato dito sa equation 7. Okay? So, tanawan na to ha. Ato i-substitute sa equation 7. Mamaya sa equation 7. So, asa yung substitute si b, so nanatay a h sub 1 plus delta sub 1. Then, ato dayong distribute. Okay, so manang natay a h sub 1 times h sub 0 plus h sub 1 plus delta sub 1 h sub 0 plus h sub 1. Now, kung di ba sa ma-observe po ninyo, iyahang kini si delta sub 1 ug h sub 1, then napagkadari delta sub 1 ug h sub 1 sa to pa makancel ni, di ba? Then kining delta sub 1 h sub 0 imo rang i-transfer diri sa so mo nang nakaani. Delta sub 0 h sub 0 minus delta sub 1 h sub 0. Okay. And that's equal to, now kining duha ka terms natay common nga h sub 0 plus h sub 1. So factor out nato. So ato lang interchange. So mo na nata diri nabilin nga h sub 1. Diba gikan ani. Ano siya? Tapos minus kaya negative man na. Minus naka-square man ni sa to pa minus h sub 0 plus h sub 1. Okay, then kini gi-factor ra pod gihapon si h sub 0. Now since h sub 1 minus h sub 0 plus h sub 1. So makancel pod si h sub 1. Sa to pananatay negative a ang kini nabilin na h sub 0 times h sub 0 plus h sub 1. So cancel si h sub 0. Then mabilin nato will be delta sub 1 minus delta sub 0 over h sub 0 plus h sub 1. Hence, we have this expression para ma-solve nato ang mga coefficients sa atong parabola passing through 3 points of your curve. So, para lang makita ninyo ang tibuok derivation process within a slide. So, pwede ninyo ma-post kung gusto mo. Now, after solving for A, B, and C, we can then substitute them to the quadratic formula. So, diba, kanumdum mo sa itong basic math sa una, kung natay quadratic equation, para makuha nato si x, so gamit og quadratic formula. Okay. However, karon, instead of using the conventional quadratic formula, we shall employ its alternative form due to the potential round of error associated with the conventional form. Okay, so moreover, ang kini pong the equation of the parabola that we use, di ba? Masin maka natanaw quadratic formula ingani man. Then iyang alternate form kini siya. Now, mao ni ang equation sa atong parabola. Then makapangutan mo nganong dili man na x diba nga x man under kini x man. Now, the reason why is kini ang ato ang form man sa atong parabola nga gigamit kay x minus x sub 2. Okay, so for this one, it's x sub r. Mga for this one, x sub r minus x sub 2. Okay. Tapos, ato lang nang i-transfer dito. So, manang natay x sub r is equal to x sub 2 minus 2c over b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Now, another thing, take note nga ang denominator, as you can see, has a plus minus term, which means that it yields two roots. So, ang pangutana karon, what sign should we choose? Now, in Mueller's method, the sign is chosen to agree with the sign of b. Okay. Sa to pa, if b is negative, then we do subtraction. If b is positive, then addition. Nga naman, it's because this results in the largest denominator, which means ang x sub r nga makuha nato will be closer to x sub 2. And this also results in a function value nearer to 0. Okay, so mong ang katong mag-conform yapon mag-conform sa sin ni b ang kinis na. Okay, just in case lang na you also wanted to know how to come up with the alternate form from the conventional form sa quadratic formula, then this is one way to derive it. So, ano lang, times negative minus plus square root of b squared minus 4ac. Then, so muna ni b squared minus 4ac. Then, 2a. Then, kinidahin siya. So, makancel si b squared. Then, ano mo yung nabilin nga positive 4AC. So, naman yung 2A dito sa obos. Cancel. Nabilin 2C. Okay, and this now is our alternate form sa ato ang quadratic formula. Okay. I think kabalo na mo ani diba sa inyong lower math. Para naman yung simplify nato ang sa numerator na eliminate ning kining sa radical. Okay, so muna natin. And mga pong opposite pa lang sa plus minus minus plus. Okay, then let's proceed. So to summarize the Mueller's method, given the polynomial, okay, which we are to find the roots, the three initial root guesses, given polynomial, three initial root guesses, and then ang tolerance, gamitan din nato ang mga expressions, okay, kini sila o kini, in order to approximate the root. Okay. Paghuman, we then check if whether or not the approximate root, okay, so XR, is within the tolerance. Okay. Taglo naman ang si EA kay present minus previous over present naman siya. Okay, times 100%. And we compare that, then aron nga, tapos kung si approximate error kay greater than sa specified na tolerance, then we continue our iteration. So basically, yun on ang process para sa Mueller's method. Okay, here's our pseudocode. So as you can see, money iteration, then money ang katong mga expressions na itong gamiton. No? So, H sub 0, H0, H1, D0, D1, A, B, and C. Okay, then, tadayong sa ato ang B squared minus 4AC. Tapos, katong sa denominator mo nga part. Then, di ba, ang atong pilion katong ang sin ni B, kay pareho, kay kung sa sin ni B, mo pud dito either sa addition or subtraction. Kay parang dako iyan na denominators, which means ang atong mas dako mo atong pilion. So kung mas dako si B plus rad, then our denominator will be B plus rad. Pero kung mas gamay, then atong denominator will be B minus rad. Then mo na si x sub r na to atong root estimate. Then kuha na to ang approximate error, then i-check din nato kung ato ang approximate error kay less than na kay tolerance, okay, then you can exit, or kung ato iteration kay greater than or equal na kay giset na to nga maximum iteration, then we also exit the program. Then mag-update din ta. That is ang x sub ang imohang sa second iteration na din nimo, ang imohang x sub 0 will be ang former ng x sub 1, imong x sub 1 will be ang former ng x sub 2, and x sub 2 nimo will be ang current nga root estimate. Okay? So let's try this one. Use Mueller's method to determine a root of the polynomial f of x equal to x cubed minus 13x minus 12, given the initial guesses x sub 0 equal to 4.5, x sub 1 equal to 5.5, and x sub 2 equal to 5. Tolerance is 0.01%. Okay, so nataan ito ang polynomial. So let's have our first iteration. Let's first evaluate our function at the initial guesses. So may yung function value. Then, di ba, si h sub 0 is equal to x sub 1 minus x sub 0. So we have 1. Delta sub 0 is equal to x sub 1 minus f of x sub 0 over h sub 0. So just substitute the values, then we get 62.25. Mga gapon, si h sub 1 o si delta sub 1, anong may expression daan, so substitute lang, ano lang mga values. So, na naman tayo h sub 0, delta sub 0, h sub 1, delta, h sub 1 o delta sub 1. So, substitute gapon nato para sa expression ni A, para sa expression ni B, o para kay C, ay dito naman kay C, ay so, ito pa, masok na din nato C, A, B, and C, ang coefficients sa ito ang parabola. So, kay na naman tayo A, B, and C, so masok na pud nato ang root estimate. which is, now tanaw na to, si B is positive 62.25. Hence, we choose addition. Okay. Then we now have x, our root estimate is equal to 3.976487. Now, for the sake of demonstration, let's also use subtraction. Okay, para lang ma-satisfy yung curious minds. Let's use subtraction in the denominator. So, subtraction, ay mamaling na itong ganina. Okay? Now, man say root estimate, naman yung function value. Now, kung subtraction atong gamiton ha, imuhang root estimate will be kini. And then function value ana, kung imo nang kini siya, i-substitute yung magari, ang function value niya will be negative 29. Okay, so, sa to pa, mas layo na ni noon kaayo compare sa to ba, better na siya. Okay, mas dual man sa 0, di ba? Kumaga, kini siya ng x sub r, mas dual siya sa root bali. Kaya ito ang function value, mas dual man sa 0. Okay, so that's why ang whether positive as additional subtraction kanang agad siya kung inside sign ni b. Okay? And na naman tayo ato ang root estimate, so atong buhaton, paano din nato ang ato ang approximate na okay, atong approximate na error. So that's 25.74%. Okay. Then, as you can see, since si atong approximate error kay greater than 0.01% man, na mao atong tolerance nga set, ano pasabot na siya that we have to continue the process. So for the second iteration, mag-update natin sa atong values, that is, si x sub 0 karon will be equal to x sub 1 sa previous, si x sub 1 is equal to x sub 2 sa previous, and si x sub 2 will be ang current nga root estimate. Now, if you are to continue that, okay, so nitabo rin na, you will have this one. Okay. So at after 4 iterations, ang ato ang condition kina-satisfy na. Okay. That is ang ato ang approximate error kay less than 0.01% na. And ang ato ang x sub r kay 4. Okay. And that's it. Remember that you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start in order for you to be great. Thank you for listening.